Hello everybody, this is Daryl Whitman with Destinationwvftv. Thank you for watching. In this video, I'm giving you my best cruising tips for first-time cruisers or even the experienced cruisers. I put this list together through my cruising experience over the last 10 years or so, and believe me, I've learned a few things. Today, I'm going to share them with you. Before we get there, I want to ask you to consider subscribing to our channel. We're a small but growing channel, and we would love to have you as part of our family. So please take a moment to subscribe. We would appreciate it. Thank you. Now let's get started. Cruise tip number 1, arrive at least one day early to your port city. Why do I say this? Well, I've read and heard a lot of stories where people are trying to make it to their port cities to get on their ships the day of their embarkation. Well, they didn't make it, and the reason they didn't make it is varied. And there probably were airline delays and cancellations. We've seen a ton of those over the last few months. Airline systems go down, i.e. Southwest Airlines, and you just have chaos all over the country. So you don't want a chance leaving the day of your embarkation to get to your ship. There are other issues too, like weather issues. We've seen a lot of storms across the country, heavy snowfall in the north and even in the west, Seattle, and even in California. They're having a lot of snowfall there. So that's another issue you could run into leaving on the same day as your ship embarks, which would cause you to miss your flights. Even if you're driving, that you're still taking a chance because you could have car problems. There could be a host of other issues, traffic delays. You just don't know. So you don't really want a chance leaving the day of your cruise in order to get there on time, because it just may not happen. So we advise heavily, strongly, can't encourage enough for you to leave at least one day, get to your port city at least one day early. If you're flying internationally, I recommend at least 2 days early. Get to your port city at least 2 days early. For instance, my wife and I are going to Greece this year, and we booked the hotel 2 days prior to our departure. So we're supposed to leave on a Thursday, which actually we'll get there in Greece on a Friday, and our ship doesn't leave until that Sunday. So we've gotten there a couple of days early. 1, so we can have a day of rest. 2, because I actually want to see some sights around the cities, sights around the city, but we will be comfortable with actually getting to the port 2 days early, so we don't have that rush or anxiety or stress trying to get there. And that's another reason to leave port, at least get to your port at least one day early, because you can relieve that stress or alleviate that stress of knowing you're already there, as opposed to, will I get there on the day that you leave. So again, arrive at least one day early to your port city and avoid unnecessary stress caused by airline delays and cancellations, weather issues, or even driving problems. So that's my tip number 1. Make reservations for your port hotel and airfare at least 3 to 6 months prior to your embarkation date. The simple reason for this is simply the cost. The longer you wait to make your reservations, the more expensive it's going to be. So it just makes sense to make them out as far as you can. I typically, after I book my cruise, depending on how far in advance I do that, I usually do it 6 to 9 months ahead of time, sometimes even a year or 2. It just depends, but I always try to make sure that I've booked the airfare and the hotel at least 3 to 6 months out, usually about 6 months out, because I just don't want to get to the place where I need to make a reservation and forgot to make it, and then at the last minute I'm trying to make it, which means I'm going to be paying out more money. I don't like paying out more money, so I try to avoid that at all costs. So again, cruise tip number 2, make your reservations for the port hotel and your airfare at least 3 to 6 months prior to your embarkation date. Cruise tip number 3. Once on the ship, change your watches and clocks to ship time. You don't want a chance missing the ship if you're off the ship on an excursion or just out exploring the port on your own. You don't want to end up being a pier runner on somebody's YouTube video trying to catch the ship before it pulls off from port. You don't want to miss any activities or reservations on the ship just because you're on the wrong time schedule. So make sure to change your watches and clocks once you board the ship to the ship's time. Cruise tip number 4. Download the cruise line app after you make your cruise booking. The app will be your lifeline on the ship. You will be able to keep up with the ship's itinerary, see restaurant menus, reserve specialty dining, see show times, times for special events, book excursions, see your charges, and a whole host of other things affiliated with your cruise. So as soon as you can, after you make your cruise booking, download the cruise line app. It will be extremely helpful to you once you get on the ship. Cruise tip number 5. Make sure your passport is up to date. If you currently have a passport, you know passports are valid for 10 years. Please verify that your passport is valid for travel the 6 months prior to your travel date and the 6 months after. Some countries require the passport to be valid 6 months after your travel date. If you are applying for a new passport or renewing, please make sure you do so within plenty of time before your departure date. Current wait times for a passport is 8 to 11 weeks from the date of receipt. So don't wait till the last minute to apply and end up missing your cruise because you didn't get your passport in time. Cruise tip number 6. Make sure you have the proper documentation when checking in at the pier. This will make the boarding process that much smoother. The consequences of not having the proper documentation at check-in are delayed boarding or denial of boarding altogether. Nobody wants to deal with that, so just make sure you have the documentation you need. Typically, that's passports, birth certificates, and or government issue ID, boarding passes. You used to need a vaccine card and documentation of a recent negative COVID test. Thank God that's over. But whatever the cruise ship or cruise line requires, just make sure you have it at check-in to avoid all the anxiety and stress. Cruise tip number 7. Verify your online check-in time. Typically, your online check-in time is around 21 days prior to your cruise. They vary among the cruise lines. You want to know when this time is, so when it comes, you can complete all of your documents online prior to your check-in at the pier, so you won't have any delays there. You can usually select your boarding time, print your boarding passes, and your luggage tags. We usually select the boarding time around 11 o'clock because you're usually required to check out of a hotel at 11. And we don't want any lag time or much lag time between then and getting on the ship. Once we get to the pier, we can get rid of our luggage with the porters and just explore the ship on our own until the cabin is ready. So make sure you know when your online check-in time starts. Cruise tip number 8. Once on board your ship, complete your safety briefing / muster as soon as possible. Why? The ship can't leave port until everybody's completed this task. You don't want to be the one to hold the ship up because you haven't gotten this done. It only takes a couple of minutes now to get it done, so just get it done as soon as you can once on board. P.S. I have seen where some cruise lines are going back to the old muster and safety briefing, and it doesn't appear to be working real well from the posts that I've seen, so we'll see how long they stick with it. But either way, just get it done as soon as you can once you get on board, as not to hold up everybody else. Cruise tip number 9. Keep your must-have items like your medications with you at all times. Do not pack these items. There's no guarantee that your luggage will be delivered to your cabin by the time you arrive. Even if it has been delivered, you may not get all of your items, all of your luggage at the same time. You don't want to get caught in a situation where you need something and you don't have it because you packed it. I take a lot of medications because I had a kidney transplant, and I keep those with me at all times. I do not pack those items, and I suggest you don't either. So if you have must-have items that you know you're going to need, and it may not be in your cabin by the time you arrive, don't pack them down. Keep them with you at all times. Cruise tip number 10. Know what's not allowed on board your cruise ship. Please consult your cruise line website for a comprehensive list of items that you're not permitted to bring on board your cruise ship. This is not an all-inclusive list by any means, but things like illegal drugs and weapons, alcohol, hard liquor and beer, electrical and household appliances with heating elements like irons, clothes steamers, immersion heaters, heating blankets, water heaters, coffee machines, hot plates, toasters, heating pads, humidifiers, knives and scissors, of course, open razors, etc. These items will be confiscated by the cruise line and returned to you after the cruise. Again, consult the cruise line website for a comprehensive list of prohibited items. Cruise tip number 11. Pack these items for your cabin. You'll be glad you did. Lysol spray/wipes. My wife insists on taking these items because as soon as we get into our cabin, she starts disinfecting the room, wiping down the surfaces in the room and the bathroom, and spraying down the bed. She doesn't take any chances, and you shouldn't either. Air freshener. Cruise ship bathrooms are really small, so it's easy to leave a lasting aroma after you've done your due diligence, if you know what I mean. It only makes sense to have air freshener on hand to help mitigate the aroma you left behind and avoid it filtering into the rest of the cabin. Number 3, laundry bags for dirty clothes. After you've spent the day on the beach, in the pool, in the sun sweating, clothes tend to get a little raw. When you take those clothes off, you don't want to mix them with your clean clothes, so just bring a laundry bag with you to keep the clean clothes separate from the dirty ones. Number 4, hand sanitizer. When you're on a cruise ship with 2,500 passengers, you know germs are going to be everywhere. Carry some hand sanitizer with you to help keep your hands as germ-free as possible. There will be sanitizing stations on the ship, but it never hurts to have your own small supply as well. Cruise tip number 12. Utilize the space under the bed for extra storage. Sometimes our cabins are not as large as we think they are once we see them. Depending on how much luggage we bring, it can really make the room that much smaller. Rather than stacking them up in a corner or lining them against the wall, just slide them under the bed. There's plenty of storage under the bed for your luggage. It keeps them out of sight and provides more space in the cabin for you to move around. It's a very smart use of space. Cruise tip number 13. Book your excursions early, especially the popular ones. The earlier you book your excursions, the better. You're subject to get a better price online than if you booked on the ship. You will have more availability booking early than waiting to book on the ship. Earlier we talked about downloading the cruise line app. You can use the app to book your excursions as soon as your cruise is booked or as soon as they become available. Cruise tip number 14, bring some extra cash. I know this sounds like a duh moment, but there are those people who do everything through their credit cards. The point here is that you might want to leave a tip for those crew members who have served you well during the cruise. Even if you prepaid gratuities, maybe your room steward provided excellent service, or someone on a dining staff, or maybe you had a favorite bartender during the cruise. Prepaid gratuities are shared with each of these areas, plus more. A tip from you directly says you appreciated the service they provided and makes it a lot more personable. Of course, you are under no obligation to do so. It's completely your choice, But just in case you want to, make sure you bring a little extra cash with you. Cruise tip number 15. When it's time to disembark the ship, a lot of people want to get off as early as possible. The best way to do that is through self-assist. What does that mean? It means that you carry your own luggage off the ship rather than setting it outside your cabin the night before you disembark and letting the staff take it down to a holding area for you. My wife and I use self-assist as our preferred method when we disembark. You just need to be up and ready to go when they call you down. Cruise tip number 16. Purchase cruise insurance. While there are those who think they don't need it, it is absolutely necessary. You never want to be caught in another country without it. If you fall ill or have an accident, or if you are hospitalized for some time, or God forbid you pass away and have to be repatriated, those costs can add up very quickly into the thousands. Cruise insurance will give you some peace of mind that you're covered in the event any of these things happen. You can purchase cruise insurance from the cruise line directly when you book your cruise, or through any number of other insurance services. Just check with your agent who can help guide you with your options. No matter where you get it from, just get it. Here's our final cruise tip number 17. Just have fun and enjoy your trip. You paid good money for your cruise. There's no need to be upset if things aren't perfect, or to be rude to the staff or your fellow passengers. Just take a breath, just relax, and if something happens on the ship that really bothers you, just report it. The cruise line will address it. It's as simple as that. Your job is to continue to have fun and have the time of your life. So I say again, relax, just have fun, and enjoy your trip. Well, that's it for now. I hope these cruise tips will help you on your next cruise. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If so, please like it and subscribe to our channel for more great content. Coming soon, videos from Greece in May and Hawaii in August. We'd love to have you follow us along on our cruise journeys. You can also follow us on our other social media sites, on our Instagram page at Destinationwvf and our Facebook page at Destinationwv. Thank you for watching. Goodbye for now. This is Gerald Whitman. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of Destination WVF TV.